everyone. This is Morey Croson from the Performance Lab of California. What we're doing is a brand new quarterback series. I think a lot of you guys that have been following us have seen a lot of the YouTube videos that we've been doing and also some of the just regular breakdown videos we do. And there's a couple key concepts that we go through while we're talking about in all those different videos. And so we thought we would do is basically compact it all into one awesome program that I think is going to have a lot of benefit for all overhead athletes, especially quarterbacks, pitchers, and in that realm, just because of the attention to detail that we're going to be putting on each part of the joint, each part of the throw. So just real quick, I'm going to go over what we're going to be doing in each one of the videos so you have a better understanding of what it's all about. Basically what we did is we'll go from the first one, get into the correct arm slot. So we just want to be able to talk about how you can get to that correct arm slot. What is the correct arm slot? What are some differentiations between a good throw or a bad throw, or what makes an arm rotation or arm movement bad, right? We don't want to necessarily say, oh, this arm slot or this release is the right way to do a release. I think everybody has a different way of being able to go through the actual throw. But we want to give you some things that we notice that put you more at risk for not getting as much velocity, or maybe having more, putting more time into the actual release, especially for quarterbacks where it's all about getting that quick release, right? We want to be able to get the ball out of our hands as fast as we can. And so based off of how we take the ball back or how our shoulder range of motion is, stuff like that, that will really affect getting to that correct arm slot. And that's basically how we came up with that, is looking at a lot of the guys that can release the ball the fastest and what they have tendency-wise and that correlate within each of them. The next part is effectively using your back leg. This is going to be really, really important in creating power. I think overall, a big thing that we're missing within, especially the younger athletes, is you just don't have enough velocity on the ball, or can't throw the ball very deep, and things like that. It ends up really affecting you. And so we want to be able to have a great understanding of how do we get more force out of the actual throw, and that's going to be how do you use your lower body. So effectively using your back leg is going to be important, as well as number 3, which is going to be absorbing force in your front leg. So how well can you actually transition onto that front leg? If you can't do that well, and if you don't have a strong front leg, or just even understand the biomechanics and the feedback that you should be getting from that front leg, there's no way that you're going to be able to get the amount of force, the maximum amount of force that you can out of your ball. So this is going to be a very, very important. 2 and 3 are super important in just understanding how to utilize the ground and your lower body and creating force. And again, that's really important in your overall throw. Next thing is how to create rotational power. So now we're going to get more into what do you stabilize, how do you rotate, things of that nature. This is going to be more hips and core. So we want to have a great understanding of how the hips should be moving, and when they should be stable or kind of locked into place, and when they should be rotating. They need to do both, but at certain times there's critical parts where you need to be able to do both. So they need to be able to move well, and they need to be able to be strong and be able to stop. And then that will go right into how well you can actually rotate within the core. So if you get too much rotation within your hips, now you're not going to be able to use your core effectively, because your hips need to stop or be stable in order for the core to twist with any force. And also, if you have too much, your hips are too stiff, now you're going to be too reliant on your core, and that's when you get into hyperextension and bad things there. Next thing is going to be the head and neck positioning, and so that is upper body wise. So there's a couple tendencies that we see within the head and neck that put you in a very, very tough position within just where your center of mass is. Your head is a big proponent of where your body's leaning. So if my head's moving to the side, my whole body's moving to the side. If it's moving forward, my whole body's moving forward. So we have to have our head and neck in a good position in order for us to be able to biomechanically create the right amount of force. So if my head's forward, what that automatically does is makes it so I can't use as much of the force out of my back leg. Same thing if my head's backward or to the side. Now I start to create these inefficiencies in the movement that can end up affecting power, accuracy, things like that. And so that's going to be very, very important. And with the head and neck, though, I think there's an important concept is that for that particular area, it's very close to number one, where there's not necessarily one place the head and neck should be in order to really have an effective throw. But again, there's some tendencies that we see that a lot of the best guys do that make it so we understand around where the head and neck should be, or what, more importantly, or what are the things you don't want to do with the head and neck. Okay, the next is going to be the wrist, elbow, and shoulder movement to optimize the throw. So that is basically going more in depth into the range of motion and how those joints should be moving throughout the throw. So it's different from the correct arm slot. The arm slot is just kind of talking about the whole overall arm. This one is going to be talking about the joints within the arm. So you can notice wrist, elbow, and shoulder. So if these things don't have the right range of motion, they're not moving in the correct way, these problems will end up making it so you're not able to get to that correct arm slot, and also make it so you're going to end up having stiffnesses and tightnesses and stuff like that. And this goes a lot into where those would be coming from and how to effectively reduce that. The next one's going to be effectively using the core and spine. So this one goes very, very well with both head and neck and creating rotational power. So if we lose the proper positioning of the core and spine, basically we're going to reduce the amount of power that we're able to create. One thing that I always am telling athletes, no matter what, if they're throwing, overhead athletes, or just regular athletes, your posture is everything. How well you can maintain postural strength, how much your muscles are able to hold that good upright positioning or the proper position of the core and spine will directly impact how much power you're going to be able to produce. So the reason that the top athletes are able to produce the power that they can is because they're very, very strong in their posture. Okay, and so we need to be able to build posture strength, have an understanding of what good posture is, and that's what we're talking about in this section here is where should the core be, where should the spine be, or how should the core be firing, and where should the spine be during the actual throw. Next, we'll go into how and what to strengthen. So I think that this one's really, really good because we all, as athletes, have different amounts of forces, or we're trying to work out in different ways. We always want to figure out what is the we thing to work on. So, we want to talk about how to effectively train the rotator cuff. We want to talk about how to gain postural strength. We want to talk about how to strengthen in the lower body to create more force off the back leg and making it so you can absorb in the front leg. These are all very, very key concepts that are good to just understand what the overall goal is, but I think it's also really good to be able to train to make it so you're going to be able to get that a little bit more effectively and also easier, right? We want to make it so your path to being the best quarterback that you can be is going to be as short as possible, and that's where this is going to come into play. You can't always be throwing. You can't always be working on the rest of the videos here. There's a lot going into, more on the quarterback side. There's a lot of preparation that needs to go into as well. And so strength and being an overhead athlete is going to be, knowing what to do when you're off the field is going to be critical. You can't just train to be a linebacker, a running back, or receiver like what most strength and conditioning programs have, especially within football. You have to train to be an overhead athlete. It's very, very different, and some of the demands that we're going to put within this area, what to strengthen, is going to make it so you really are able to connect with, okay, this is what my shoulder should be doing. This is what my spine should be doing. This is how I create power out of my core, my hips, my foot. All those things are going to be critical, and that's what we go over right there. This is going to be a super important video. I mean, all of them are really good. Next one is just correcting common inefficiencies. So when you know that you're doing something that's not right in the upper body, we go a little bit about it in the actual video, but we could do a better job of connecting all the parts here within 9. So there's a lot of things that end up happening that make it so you have an inefficient pattern, and so if we can work on that or make it so you can recognize that in this video, then we can all of a sudden make it so it's a lot more effective for you to be able to get through that and understand what the correction needs to be. The last thing we're going to go into is the lower body deficiencies. Okay, so now we'll go into what are you not able to do lower body wise. Again, we'll go into it a little bit in these videos, but this will overall give you a better understanding of, okay, this is how my back leg transitioning is impacting my front leg, and this is how to correct it. All those types of things are going to be very important and very well understood within that last 10 videos. So, or the 10th video. So, all 10 of these just really break down the whole throw into a very, very effective presentation of what are the different parts of the throw, how do I train, how do I correct. It's just really an overall great series. So I'm really excited to be able to do this. I think we're going to do more stuff like this in the future. We're going to just continue to help athletes as much as we can and being able to achieve the goals they want to achieve. So we really take a lot of time and effort into ensuring we're giving the best information and also making it so we're really understanding what the throw should look like. And so as we continue to get more information about what the throw should look like and how to optimize it, we'll be able to continue to give you more and more content about what to do and how to make it all more effective. So I'm really looking forward to it, and thanks for the opportunity.